Welcome to This Explainer. Today we are diving deep into the endocrine system. Think of it like the ultimate behind-the-scenes corporate memo system, quietly regulating absolutely everything we do. Right now, while you're just going about your day, there's a massive, highly coordinated communication network operating inside of you, making sure every single organ, tissue, and cell knows exactly what to do and when to do it.
We are going to take a top-down anatomical tour of the body today. We'll start with the body's communication network, move into the master control center, check out metabolism and calcium control, dive into stress and survival responses, and finally, wrap things up with sugar, sleep, and sex.
Section 1. The body's communication network.
So our bodies basically have two main communication networks, the nervous system and the endocrine system. If the nervous system is like your instant messaging app, firing lightning-fast electrical impulses for immediate split-second reactions, the endocrine system is more like the internal postal service. It relies on chemical messengers called hormones that circulate in the bloodstream. These hormonal memos might trigger a response instantly, or they might take days to fully deliver their message, producing a massive variety of physiological effects all over the body.
To really grasp this, we've got to distinguish between exocrine and endocrine glands. Exocrine glands, think sweat, oil, and digestive glands, use physical ducts. They're like little bodily highways routing stuff into cavities or right onto the skin surface. But endocrine glands, totally different ballgame. They secrete their products, the hormones, directly into the extracellular space. From there, they diffuse straight into the bloodstream to be carried everywhere. Now, what absolutely blows my mind is the sheer efficiency here. There are roughly 50 different hormones produced in the human body. Just 50. And yet, they pack a massive punch even at incredibly low concentrations. You do not need a flood of these chemicals to change how the body functions. Just a tiny, microscopic drop in the bloodstream can fundamentally alter your metabolism, your growth, or your immune response.
So you might be wondering, how do these powerful hormones know exactly where to go? Well, they act like highly specific keys looking for a very specific lock. We call these locks target cells. Even though a hormone is just floating around everywhere in your blood, it's only going to affect a cell if that cell happens to express the exact protein or glycoprotein receptor built to catch it. If the cell doesn't have the receptor, the hormone just drifts right on by.
All of these chemical memos traveling perfectly to their target cells work together for one unified goal: homeostasis, basically keeping the internal environment perfectly stable. Whether your body is fighting off an infection, completely stressed out, dehydrated, or dealing with temperature extremes, the endocrine system is constantly adjusting the dials to keep the whole company running smoothly despite the external chaos.
Section 2. The Master Control Center.
Let's head up to the CEO's office, located deep inside the brain. First up is the hypothalamus. This acts as your major integrating link between the nervous and endocrine systems. It gathers all the intelligence and hands down orders directly to the pituitary gland. Now, the pituitary is tiny. We're talking a 500 milligram, pea-sized organ hanging out at the base of the brain. But do not let its size fool you. Historically, it's been called the master gland because, alongside the hypothalamus, it literally runs the show for growth, development, and homeostasis. This master gland is split into two lobes. The anterior pituitary is essentially the body's middle management. It gets indirect blood signals from the hypothalamus and fires off an entire alphabet soup of delegated hormones. You've got growth hormone, or GH, stimulating cell division in bones and muscles. You've got TSH barking orders at the thyroid, ACTH hitting the adrenal glands, prolactin initiating milk production, plus FSH and LH running the reproductive systems. It is an absolute powerhouse of delegation.
Meanwhile, the posterior pituitary operates a bit differently. It's actually a downward growth of nervous tissue directly from the brain, using a straight network of nerve fibers. It doesn't even manufacture its own hormones. Instead, it just stores and releases two hormones made by the hypothalamus: oxytocin, which handles uterine contractions and milk ejection, and antidiuretic hormone, or ADH, which promotes water retention so your bodily fluids stay perfectly balanced. Section 3. Metabolism and calcium control. Let's drop down into the neck now, right around the windpipe, to the thyroid gland. This is a highly vascular, 25-gram butterfly-shaped organ. Inside, it has these spherical follicles that actively trap iodine from your diet to pump out T3 and T4. These two hormones are the undisputed master regulators of your metabolism. They dictate exactly how fast your cells burn fuel.
But this brings up a really fascinating physiological question. If T3 and T4 are busy handling metabolism, who on Earth manages the calcium in your blood? And remember, calcium isn't just for strong bones, it is absolutely crucial for muscle contraction and nerve firing. If your calcium levels get out of whack, the whole system crashes.
The answer is basically a biological tug-of-war. Tucked between the follicles of the thyroid are C cells that secrete calcitonin, which actually lowers blood calcium by shoving it into your bones for storage. But, pulling perfectly in the opposite direction, we have 4 tiny parathyroid glands embedded right on the back of the thyroid. They secrete parathyroid hormone, or PTH, which works to raise blood calcium by pulling it out of the bones and increasing absorption in your gut and kidneys. It's an incredibly elegant system of checks and balances, keeping your calcium exactly where it needs to be.
Section 4. Stress and survival responses.
Moving further down, just above the kidneys, we hit the body's emergency response department, the paired adrenal glands. These guys are split into 2 layers. The outer layer is the adrenal cortex, and it pumps out corticosteroids made from cholesterol. And I really want to emphasize a stark reality from our source material here. The adrenal cortex is completely essential to life. If you lose its function, the result is fatal dehydration. That's because it secretes mineralocorticoids like aldosterone to hold on to sodium and water, right alongside glucocorticoids like cortisol that manage our deepest long-term stress responses.
Now, if the cortex handles long-term survival, the inner core, the adrenal medulla, is your body's immediate smash-the-glass fire alarm. Functioning as part of the sympathetic nervous system, it prolongs your fight-or-flight response by dumping a very precise chemical mix, 80% adrenaline and 20% noradrenaline. When you feel that sudden, heart-pounding rush of panic or excitement, that is the exact chemical cocktail instantly flooding your veins.
Section 5. Sugar, Sleep, and Sex. Central to our daily energy is the pancreas, and it manages our blood sugar exactly like a seesaw. Say you just ate a big meal and your blood glucose spikes. Specialized beta cells in the pancreas immediately step up. They secrete insulin, which basically acts as the key to unlock your cells, letting them pull glucose straight out of the blood and safely pack those nutrients away.
But what happens when that seesaw tips the other way? Maybe you've been fasting or hitting the gym really hard and your blood sugar drops. The pancreas has a built-in backup plan. A totally different set of cells, the alpha cells, release a hormone called glucagon. Glucagon sends a memo to your liver to release its stored glucose back into the bloodstream, safely bringing your levels back up to normal. Rounding out this massive network, we've got a handful of highly specialized glands working quietly in the background. The pineal gland up in your brain secretes melatonin, running your sleep patterns and biological clock. The gonads, the ovaries and testes, drive reproduction and sex hormones. You've got the thymus glands promoting the maturation of T cells for your immune system. And we even have local hormones, things like histamine jumping into action during an allergic response, or prostaglandins managing pain and blood pressure right at the cellular level.
When you really step back and look at the whole picture, it is just an unbelievably complex network. You've got 50 powerful chemical memos circulating in these tiny microscopic concentrations, perfectly balanced to keep you alive through stress, growth, and every single day of your life. But it really leaves you with a profound question to chew on. Considering just how delicate and vital these specific lock and key mechanisms actually are, what happens to our entire state of homeostasis when just one of these tiny chemical memos gets lost in the mail? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer today. I hope you're walking away with a whole new appreciation for the phenomenal communication network operating inside of you right this second.